Ooh, I don't need to be that extra. Hello, welcome back to Learning Curves. I'm Anastasia, and today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects, introversion and extroversion. I started really thinking about introversion and extroversion about 5 years ago, and I've been sort of an amateur studier, enthusiast of the topic ever since. And I think right now, a lot of us are kind of having a reckoning with the differences between introverts and extroverts. With all of the social distancing that we're hopefully doing, and with maybe facing another wave of stay-at-home orders for the fall/winter. So I wanted to talk about my understanding of the differences between introverts and extroverts, how you can self-identify yourself. What? How you can identify which one you are, and some ways that we can better coexist, we introverts and extroverts in general, but especially right now, while we are trapped in homes together or stranded by ourselves. So let's just jump right in. I think there are a lot of misunderstandings around introversion and extroversion. I think a lot of people think that introverts are all shy and can't be people, can't do well in social situations. And I think a lot of people think that extroverts are great around people and can't be quiet by themselves. And I don't think those things are true. I think there are certain people who maybe fit those definitions, but I don't think that that's the rule. The main difference, as I understand it, between introverts and extroverts are where we get our energy from, how we recharge our batteries. You know, if you think of us as electrical devices, when introverts are by themselves, they're plugged in and their batteries are recharging. When they are with others, as long as they have a full battery, many introverts can do great in social situations while unplugged, until their battery starts to run low, and then they're gonna need some alone time again. Extroverts are the reverse. When extroverts are with other people, that's when they're plugged in. That's when their battery is recharging. And when they're by themselves, they can be by themselves just fine, but they're unplugged and their battery is draining. As their battery gets lower, they're gonna need some social interaction in order to recharge. I know introverts who are great with other people, and I know extroverts who are terrible with other people. And I know extroverts who spend a lot of time alone, and I know introverts who spend a lot of time with other people. It's just about making sure that you have that time to plug back in, however it is that you plug back in. So right now, there are people who are extroverts who live alone and are responsibly social distancing, who are starved for energy. And it's really important for those people to have social interactions. So if you know some extroverts that are stuck home alone, get them a dog. No, call them, FaceTime, video chat, Google Hangout, Duo, Facebook video. Someone who I'm close with who is an introvert was telling me that she was having a really hard time with her son, who's very much an extrovert, because both of them felt as though their batteries were close to empty and both of them wanted to recharge their batteries. So for her, she needs to go have some alone time. Mommy needs some mommy time. But for him, he needs to be around another person in order to recharge his battery. So he was following her around the house, and so she was not able to charge her battery, but she wasn't really engaging with him, so he wasn't able to charge his battery, and that can feel like a really parasitic relationship. You know, introverts are self-charging, so a lot of introverts can feel like extroverts are sort of parasites, whereas introverts and other introverts have a beautiful symbiotic relationship of being able to charge each other's batteries. You know, I remember one of my best good friends, Steve, he and I would spend all of our time together. I remember one day we worked together, and I remember, we spent the whole day working together, and, end of the day, we're in the parking lot standing by our cars talking and talking and talking, and we said, you know what, let me just call you, let's drive home, we'll just talk on the drive home. So we did that, and then we stayed on the phone the entire night until we were finally like, I gotta go to bed, I'll see you in the morning. We went to bed and woke up and saw each other the next day, spent the whole next workday together. Those are extroverts. Those are extroverts. Whereas for an introvert, that might sound exhausting. But for an extrovert, it sounds great. So I think I'm gonna get some flack from my siblings about this, but I don't think this is new to them. I think they've all heard me say this. I think I am the only true extrovert of the six of us. The rest of them, and I also think that people are on a spectrum. My husband, I would classify as more introverted because of how his battery is charged, but he maybe doesn't require as much alone time to charge that battery as a more significantly introverted person does. I describe myself as a clinical extrovert, and I've found ways to feel as though I'm engaging with other people without having to drain the batteries of other people, because I am surrounded by introverts. My husband's an introvert, my daughter's an introvert, my dog is an introvert, my siblings are all introverts, my mom is an introvert. And so, I either spread myself around so that I take just a little bit of each of them, each of their batteries. But also I find myself consuming a lot of social media or streaming a lot of things. I always have something on because that feels, obviously I'm not hanging out with Chip and Joanna Gaines, but, hearing other voices and other stories as I'm watching TV or YouTube or whatever it is can help tick that battery up for me. So I want to talk about school and introversion and extroversion. I was a terrible student. I was a really bad student. I talk about that in another video that I'm not sure if I've posted yet because I'm banking some up for when I'm on maternity leave so I can take a break to just be with this little one. But I filmed a video on honesty and consequences, and in that video I talk about the challenges of being an extrovert in a formal education situation. Because if you think about what the day in the life of a high schooler looks like, you go to school and you're in classes all day long where you're listening to someone speak. Maybe there are small group exercises, but for the most part, it's pretty passive. There isn't a lot of interaction. And then you go home and you're supposed to sit in your room and study and read and do your homework by yourself. And I very much remember saying to my incredibly introverted mother, who was so frustrated that I wouldn't do my homework, I remember saying, well, maybe if you did it with me. And she was like, I'm not doing your homework with you. Because to her, that sounded like I was trying to get out of doing it. When the reason I didn't want to do it was because I couldn't bear to think about having that time stuck by myself again. My battery was empty. I needed to recharge. And doing homework was in no way going to recharge my battery. And I think that's really hard for some people to understand. Whereas if you're an introvert, maybe being in a classroom surrounded by other students and listening to a teacher, maybe that does not charge an introvert's battery, but going home and sitting in your room and doing homework and writing and, that might. Introverts are famous for enjoying to read. In fact, a lot of people think that's kind of a quick way to identify introverts and extroverts. Do you read a lot? You're an introvert. Do you not? You're an extrovert. Definitely is not a true blanket statement, which reminds me of a disclaimer I'd like to make. Human beings are complex. You can't explain everything about a person by identifying if they're an introvert or an extrovert. And some people may be more introverted or extroverted than other people. But I do think that understanding those differences can be really helpful in certain situations. For instance, growing up in a family of introverts, there were many times that someone would say to me, it's not about you. Today is not about you, especially at big ceremonious occasions, my siblings' weddings. I would be so excited and I'd want to interact and celebrate with people. And to introverts, that looks like trying to steal the show. Whereas for an extrovert, that's how we celebrate. That's how we revel. And that misunderstanding could be painful sometimes, that people thought that I was being selfish instead of again, that relationship of extroverts needing another person in order to recharge our batteries. When that other person is an introvert, it feels parasitic. When that other person is an extrovert, it feels symbiotic. I started my amateur research of introversion and extroversion about 5 years ago when I was starting to plan my own wedding and was very excited about it. And I didn't understand that there wasn't the same excitement from some of my family members. And I ended up making a 78 slide PowerPoint presentation discussing the differences between introverts and extroverts and giving some examples and discussing why I think that's sort of the root of the misunderstandings, sort of pleading my case. The whole, I'm not being selfish, I'm excited. This is how I say excited things. And I think it worked. So as far as challenges with social distancing, and if we do have another wave of stay-at-home orders, I think it's important for us to understand who of our loved ones are introverts and need their alone time, and who of our loved ones are extroverts and need their not alone time. And as an extrovert, I know it's important that my husband and my daughter both get time away from me. And so I put myself on the internet. But I also know that for other people who are extroverts, for instance, that person that I'm close with that I spoke about earlier, whose son's an extrovert, I said, bring him on over. He and I can hang out. Because that would be a symbiotic relationship. You know, if you are an introvert, well, you're fine. Just tell people to leave you alone. Make sure you set those boundaries for yourself so that you do get that time to recharge, because we all know none of us are good to each other unless we're taking care of ourselves. You know, you have to use the airplane metaphor, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on someone else, and to use the biblical metaphor that I always get wrong, take the plank out of your own eye before you remove the splinter from your brother's, or vice versa, whatever it is. Take care of yourself first, and then you will so much better be able to take care of other people. So if you are an introvert, please make sure that you get that time by yourself. That is not selfish. That is important for your self-care. And taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's the bare minimum we owe to ourselves. If you are an extrovert, consider who in your circle is also an extrovert and try and spend time with those other extroverts, especially if they live with introverts, to give the introverts a break and to help recharge the battery of those extroverts. I'm not sure when I'm going to post this video. There's a good chance that you're seeing this right in the thick of my maternity leave, when I am home alone with my baby and I don't have any awake energy, let alone a charged battery from social interactions. So please send positive vibes my way, and if I call you, please answer, because I need interaction. My sister-in-law also, she's so sweet. She did reach out to me and say, she was like, same Z's. She's also very, very extroverted and has an endless supply of like bodily energy, you know, not just that interpersonal energy. So she has said, please call me anytime, and I very much intend to take her up on that. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like this video and please consider subscribing. I'll see you next time. Bye.